Is Africa ever going to be great with some of the leaders they have? Let us leave you to ponder on this as we go through this video. Kenya, a nation in East Africa, is well known for its magnificent scenery, diverse culture, and dynamic political environment. It has a population of about 56 million inhabitants and has seen major political upheavals and difficulties throughout its history. The Deputy President of Kenya, William Ruto, is one prominent person in Kenyan politics. Opinions regarding Ruto's leadership are divided among Kenyans, making him a well-known and contentious figure. Critics contend that Ruto has fallen short of fulfilling pledges made to the Kenyan people and failed to handle important concerns adequately. Economic difficulties, claims of corruption, and the effects of his policies on common people have all drawn criticism. His leadership has drawn criticism from certain residents who are unhappy with how it has affected their lives. So, in today's video, we will be telling you why some people believe Ruto has failed his people. But before we continue, do not forget to like this video and subscribe to the New Tourist channel to get first-hand information on whatever is happening in Africa. It is important to note that Kenya has a dynamic political landscape characterized by various political parties, power battles, and contested elections in the past. Although the nation has achieved strides in healthcare, education, and infrastructure development, problems like poverty, unemployment, and corruption still exist. William Ruto was born on December 21, 1966, and is a Kenyan politician who has been the fifth and current president of Kenya since 13 September 2022. Before becoming president, he served as the first elected deputy president of Kenya from 2013 to 2022. Previously, holders of the position were referred to as vice president, and the office holder was unelected and appointed by the president. William Ruto's leadership has been met with criticism, with concerns raised about his ability to address key issues and improve the lives of the Kenyan people. He is focusing on pleasing the West over the welfare of his people. Note that U.S. President Joe Biden has designated Kenya as a major non-NATO ally, making it the first sub-Saharan African nation to receive the designation. In May, during a sumptuous state visit to the White House to commemorate their 60 years of diplomatic ties, Biden announced the plan to upgrade Kenya to this status. Washington is making this move to counterbalance the growing influence of China and Russia in the area. Biden has also cited Nairobi's support for the U.S. national security priorities, which include the fight against al-Shabaab and the terrorist group Daesh/ISIS in East Africa, what he called mutual support for Ukraine, and the ongoing deployment of a Kenyan security force to the unstable Caribbean nation of Haiti. Note that the Kenyan police arrived in violence-hit Haiti on Tuesday, June 25th on a mission to defeat the Caribbean nation's gangs, just as deadly unrest gripped Nairobi during mass protests. Ruto is focusing on doing what the West wants. Meanwhile, the youths in Kenya are protesting, calling for the rejection of the Finance Bill 2024, which has proposed an eco-levy on imported items, including electronic gadgets and hygiene products such as sanitary towels and diapers. The costs of motorcycles, tires, and batteries will also go up under the new eco-levy proposal. Additionally, a 16% value-added tax on the profits of domestically produced films is proposed in the law. A 16% value-added tax on bread was previously suggested by Ruto's administration, but it was later withdrawn in response to strong opposition. Plans to impose an annual tax of 2.5% on the assessed value of every vehicle in the nation were also canceled by the government. Kenyans, who claim their citizens are already choked under excessive taxes, have rejected plans to add more taxes, even after a few tweaks to the law. The youths are furious with these changes and are not taking things lightly in the country at the moment. And what did Ruto have to say? Ruto said it was the young people's democratic duty to voice their grievances against the government. We are going to have a conversation with you so that we can identify your issues, Ruto told the youth, though he did not elaborate on when and how the negotiations will be held. Under the proposed charges, Ruto's administration hopes to collect an additional 300 billion shillings in taxes as part of a 3.9 trillion Kenyan shilling budget for the fiscal year 2024-2025. In the upcoming fiscal year, the government hopes to raise 3.3 trillion shillings, which is around $25.5 billion in total income, and use borrowing to close the budget gap. Kenyans are furious with this, and part of the reason why they have taken to the streets. A 21-year-old protester lost his life after being hit by a tear gas canister during one of the protests. Is this how Ruto is protecting his country? It is tragic that a young person can lose his life simply for agitating against the high cost of living. These rallies began in Nairobi on Tuesday before spreading nationwide, with protesters calling for a national strike on June 25th. These new taxes will take effect on July 1 if Ruto assents to the Finance Bill 2024. President William Ruto referred to the tragic tax rise protests that took place on Tuesday, June 25, as treasonous, promising a prompt and forceful response. He further claimed that the protesters were organized and financed by dangerous people who wanted to cause anarchy. Protesters also broke into parliament buildings in historic scenes that left at least 5 people terminated and damaged property in Nairobi. Other regions of Kenya, including Eldoret, the president's political turf, cities in central Kenya, the Rift Valley county of Kajiado, and the city of Nakuru in the Rift Valley, also saw protests. The police responded forcefully to thousands of demonstrators who engaged them in running battles. There are reports that several of the officers shot the demonstrators with live ammunition. Attempts to torch a section of Kenya's parliament were quickly thwarted, though the protesters had surged into parliament buildings in a manner never seen before in the East African nation. In the capital, protesters largely overran police officers, with live video footage showing the officers taking cover behind water cannons and adjacent buildings. Ruto finds himself torn between the demands of a struggling populace and lenders like the International Monetary Fund, which wants the government to reduce deficits to obtain additional funding. It is clear that Ruto does not want the rest of the world to know what is going on in his country, as there have been complaints of internet disruptions. Users have been reporting interrupted or slow internet connections, with net blocks, a watchdog that monitors internet freedom, confirming the outage also affected neighboring countries Uganda and Burundi. The incident is likely to limit coverage of events on the ground where protests are held. Many of the young protesters have been mobilizing for the past week's events by posting images and videos of their physical confrontations with police on social media. Kenya's Minister of Defense, Aden Duale, stated that the military had been called in to help police quell the unrest. Kenya Defense Forces will support the National Police Service in response to the security emergency caused by the ongoing violent protests in various parts of the Republic of Kenya, resulting in destruction and breaching of critical infrastructure, duly stated in a Gazette notice published on Tuesday night. In Ruto's full speech at State House in Nairobi on June 25th, he said it was not in order or even conceivable that criminals pretending to be peaceful protesters could rain terror against the people, their elected representatives, and the institutions established under their constitution, and expect to go scot-free. We must isolate crime from democratic expression and separate criminals from people exercising the freedom of expression and divergent opinion, he said. In his defense, he added that he will continue to lead a government that is fully committed to maintaining the integrity of their state, promoting the unity of the nation, and enhancing the peace and security of all citizens and their livelihoods. Do you think he has been doing so? As all this is going on, the chairperson of the African Union Commission, Musa Faki Mahamat, has expressed deep concern over the Tuesday happenings in the East African nation Kenya. He has urged all stakeholders to exercise calm and refrain from further violence. He also appealed to national stakeholders to engage in constructive dialogue to address the contentious issues that led to the protests in the supreme interest of Kenya. What is happening in Nairobi is something phenomenal that has never been seen before. Previously, street protests were mainly organized by opposition parties. It was once the domain of leaders of the main opposition, such as Raila Odinga. However, the protesters this time are young people, or what is now known as Gen Z. It seems that young people have discovered their voice in politics, even though they had never engaged in political discourse before. The active engagement of young people in politics is crucial for the development and progress of any nation. This sentiment holds in the context of Kenya, where the involvement of young people has become increasingly significant. By actively participating in the struggles of a country, young people can bring fresh perspectives, innovative solutions, and a renewed sense of energy to the political discourse. Their voices and actions can challenge the status quo, drive policy reforms, and contribute to the creation of a more inclusive and equitable society. We can see how young people are important in a country from the likes of Ibrahim Traoré in Burkina Faso and Bassirou Faye of Senegal, who are doing a great deal for their respective countries. Young Africans should see this and stand for what is right. There will be ongoing analysis and discussion about the role played by leaders such as William Ruto as Kenya forges ahead on its path of development and advancement. The opinions and life experiences of Kenyans are fundamental in forming the political climate and guiding the nation's future. The whole world is waiting and watching to see how things will unfold in Kenya. However, do you think these protests would come to an end? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Do not forget to like this video and subscribe to the New Tourist channel. Turn on notifications too so you get notified whenever we upload videos like this. Thanks for watching and see you in our next video.